Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Hector, and in this video series I'm going to talk about different MMA news and as they relate to MMA betting. And for this one, this is a very, very interesting night of fights that we had at UFC Fight Night 40. The first fight that I want to talk about is Johnny Eduardo versus Eddie Wineland. Now, we had 8 upsets that night, 8 of them. And just if you're wondering, you know, what were the odds of all 8 guys winning these fights? 35,000 to 1. Over 35,000 to 1. And with Johnny Eduardo, you know, we had a guy who had been out for a while, and Eddie Wineland, a guy who had, you know, recently fought for the title, just a tough guy, you know, one of the top guys in the division. And we get Johnny Eduardo going up there with 2-year layoff, but, you know, Muay Thai coach for Nolan Yao, and Eddie Wineland loves to fight with those hands down. And as I said in the video, you know, that's a guy who you can't trust against another striker. And of course, to be honest, you know, I picked Eddie Wineland. I think most people did, but I said do not bet on that fight. And as a matter of fact, when I shot my video, he was probably like Eduardo was plus 475, I think, plus 500 around there. And at the time of the fight, he was sitting at plus 735 at one offshore, and that was just too appetizing. I even sent out a tweet, which I usually don't do, but for this fight, you know, I felt like using Twitter. So yeah, so I sent it out, you know, of course, before the fight happened, and because once it got up to plus 735. You know, I'm not a big value type of, you know, gotta look at the value of this, value of that, because most of the time they lose. But this time I said, you know what, this is way too ridiculous to not even put something on it. So, yeah, Johnny Eduardo just goes in there, you know, striker against striker is what Wineland turned it into, and sure enough, gets the knockout punch there. So, and then the next one, you know, number 2 of the night, we got Zach Cummings at plus 475, and Jan Cabral, a guy who very unproven, had no business being that heavy of a favorite. Of course, I said do not bet, and you know, Cummings comes through at plus 475 in a decision. And then moving right along, we had Ed Herman and Rafael Natal. Huge loss for Rafael Natal. You know, coming off that knockout loss, and then, you know, his cardio still looking crappy, fight IQ still looking crappy, and Ed Herman, you know, with his back against the wall, doesn't want to be done yet, and boom, comes through. So props to him. And another interesting one, Luis Smoka and Chris Carriazo. Smoka just a little bit too much hype behind him, and Carriazo with a lot of fire, a lot of determination, a lot of motivation for that fight. So that was very interesting. And then Neil Magny versus Tim Means. So Means moves up to 170, and Neil Magny just fights a perfect game plan type of fight. You know, kind of a point fighting style, but just an excellent fight for Neil Magny. And the upsets continue. Darren Cruikshank against Eric Koch. That's one that I just, man, I couldn't believe the way that fight ended with Koch. Just not a smart fight for Koch, and for Cruikshank, perfect. You know, just lands the knockout punch and boom. And then of course Costa Philippou and Lorenz Larkin. Costa two losses in a row, doesn't want to get cut, and Lorenz Larkin just looking horrible. And, you know, Costa catches him. And then Matt Brown versus Eric Silva. You know, Eric Silva looking terrible. Matt Brown just doing what he needs to do, just like a Terminator. That guy, nicknamed him the Terminator, just keeps coming. So that does it for that. I mean, it was just a night of ifs, ands, ifs, or buts. I mean, just wow, unbelievable. And thankfully, you know, for us, the damage wasn't major. But, I mean, some of these favorites, guys, it's just like, wow. And then we have a UFC 173 coming up here, and that is going to be very, very exciting. There's a lot of underdogs there. Not that they're all going to win, but there's a ton of underdogs there. and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys have a good one.
Make money in a flash, got 3 days off, time to get that cash. Weekends in too quick, make your mind up fast. Place your bets.